reward them in my own dollar for doing stuff for me or letting me use their money. And obviously, like that is a utility token, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the actual risk, you're speaking that you don't have elastic rebounds in place, which many dexes do, and you actually don't have the statistics for the total amount that the whales hold.
Mm.
And you know, like the potential of price manipulation is there, as you've admitted. I do have another question. What is the salary of the MMF team?
Okay. Maybe you want to let me address what you mentioned a little bit before. I'm not so sure about what this elastic rebound you're talking about actually, because I have not seen that many DEX put such a function into play. I may have seen DEXs that have implemented anti-whale protocols, which prevents large movements of money. But if even in such a situation, what happens is, the whale simply needs to break up the amount that he's sending, to sell, or I mean selling, so to speak, to affect or move prices in the protocol. It's fundamentally not very possible to prevent price manipulation by whales, so to speak. I doubt even the current biggest DEX out there now, PancakeSwap, has something like this implemented in their cake token, and I don't think VVS, on Chronos chain itself, has such a function implemented. I've read through their code; they don't actually have something like that as well. Yeah, so that's number one. Yeah, and I think end of the day, we are creating a token that is inflationary in nature, as with most DEXs out there. The question now is, are we able to build value for our token holders faster than the rate of dilution that's coming in for them? Yeah, so that's actually the problem that we are solving on a day-to-day basis, and we are really focusing really hard, to make sure that this is, going to be the case. That people still grow their value with us. Yeah, so that's the point that I'm making. Now, you ask a further question now to me: how is the team or dev team making money? Now, currently, how we are paid, so to speak, is pretty much we are not selling any of our tokens yet because we believe in the long-term future of our project. If you take a close look at our dev wallet, we have not sold a single of our own token itself because we know, we appreciate, we understand that end of the day, we are building something far bigger than what currently our valuation is. So we aren't selling that yet. And personally, we have, as I have mentioned, most of our core team members come from big protocols from other past projects. So we actually are in no dire need of funds to take a quick win. We are here to build something really big, build value for everyone. So that's
No,
actually what
and
we
I
see.
appreciate that, though. But like specifically, in
Okay.
measured USD, what is the salary of each person on the Meerkat team, and how much equity in the MMF has been provided to each person?
All right. So if you ask me that, the current amount that the entire team will hold at the end of the day is 10% of the total supply. That's actually outlined in our tokenomics model. We will only ever hold 10% across the team. Now, these
So
MMF tokens,
technically, you
the
own more
MMF tokens,
MMF than is
mhm,
existing right now for people. Like you,
no,
you own 5% more MMF than exists right now in the circulating
no,
supply.
that's not true because we have not minted those tokens because those tokens will only be linearly unlocked over time. So if you ask me right now, the team does not hold like a phenomenally large amount of tokens. Yeah.
So what is the salary of each person on the Meerkat team in USD?
Okay. We have a couple of salary employees. If you ask me, those people we are paying them close to 8K USD. And all of it has been funded from the launch pad that we raised initially. So, once again,
A
I
week, a
reiterate,
month, a year, 8K
a month,
USD, how often?
a month, every month, we're paying them monthly. So
So
about
they're
two of such
making
developers
almost a
are being
hundred
paid
grand a
this.
year.
Sorry, that's
So they're all
about
making okay. So and how many of them are making about 100,000 a year?
two of them. The rest of us are holding pure MMF tokens, and we have not sold them at all because we don't need that money currently. We just want to make sure that we grow a huge protocol over time.
So if each person own 10%, or does the total team own a total of
Total team
10%?
owns. Total team owns.
Okay. So I did some math,
Mm-hmm.
And for your price, if you were to release your total circulating supply and it were to maintain the price that it's at right now, without increase, you would technically rely upon an additional $3,040,000,000 supplied to your DEX if the price was to maintain the same throughout the dilution period in which you released excess tokens.
Come again? Sorry, I didn't catch that part. So, what's this particular math that you have done up? It's for which purpose?
So right now you have 5% of the total circulating supply of the tokens released. The other 95%, seeing as how $152 million has been spent on 5%, you divide that by 5 and then you multiply that by 100. So the total amount that you are counting on for the price to remain the same within your DEX without dilution is $3,040,000,000.
Okay,
How do you anticipate bringing in $3 trillion to your DEX?
okay, sorry. Okay, so I think there's actually a difference in the way some of us are viewing the numbers right here. So if you look at the $150 million USD, that number that you're looking at right now, that's because we are a DEX. So people are actually pulling in liquidity into many different pairs. That's not related to our own token itself. How our protocol makes money, is actually through trading fees. So the higher liquidity, or in this case, the higher TVL that we have, it should, scale to, however much USD in trading fees that we get as a protocol. So that's actually, where the money comes in, so to speak, to fund the protocol. As for the numbers that you have done up, okay, so I would say that currently now our market cap for this MMF token is 17 million USD, 17 million USD as it is. I would think, if I recall correctly, now there's about 50 million tokens in circulation. It will take 20 times of that for the full amount of tokens to be dispersed, which is a billion, as I mentioned. So that would make it a 340 million USD market cap as it is. So 340 million USD market cap means that if, let's say, all else remains constant, the prices of the token remain constant, that's the net state that it will be, right? So yeah, that's the numbers that I have roughly calculated in my head right now. Let me know if it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that there's a parity, right? So there's actually a relationship. So you've minted 5% of the total tokens that you have in supply, which means you have 95% of them left. Now you're saying that certain amounts become unlocked as more are minted. What I'm saying is if it took you 152 million in total to mint 5%, even if there's an adoption rate of an excess of 20%, you will still need over $2 trillion to maintain the price of the MMF token.
Ah, okay. I see where you're coming from now. All right. So you're coming in from a perspective where you're trying to calculate the true value of the token itself, by calculating against the TVL itself. All right. So there are multiple ways to look at how to derive the true value of the token itself. Um, hmm. I I would say I take a contrarian approach to this particular point of view, where it's not so much the TVL governs the price of the token, or in this case, the how much you can actually bring in, so to speak. All right. So the token in itself, how does it derive value, so to speak? Right. There are many ways to look at it. Okay. If the token can continuously make you money, all right. In this case, we look at annual percentage rate of returns (APR). All right. So if you look at a very mature protocol like PancakeSwap, for example, you're looking at close to people are happy with growing 70% of their value a year. So that is actually what we call the natural rate of the inflation itself, like how much of the token supply do you wish to inflate over time. And in their case, they have amassed close to, I can't remember right now, but maybe 4 to 5 billion in liquidity. All right. And they have quite a number of tokens out there. I can't remember exactly as well. But if you were to look at things from this point of view, it doesn't matter how much TVL you have. In this case, total value locked. in the protocol, because the total value locked is a number to showcase to everyone, end of the day, how much confidence everyone has in the protocol to stake their liquidity, because these people that are staking the liquidity are earning from your protocol, because number one, you're giving them the AMM tokens itself. In this case, we are giving them the MMF token, all right, and also because they are earning trading fees simply from providing liquidity with us, all right. So there are two ways that people earn, and in our case, this token that we have, end of the day, what value they can extract from this token is the financial value of the token, and how we grow the financial value is simply by providing utility with the inflation rate, so to speak. And we generally tweak down the inflation rate and we conduct deflationary measures to make sure that, end of the day, while there's a total max supply of 1 billion, end of the day, it will be a lot lesser than that. It could be even, a fraction of that, maybe 10% of that, because as we conduct more deflationary means we take more and more supply out of circulation, which means no one can ever touch those tokens ever. And so when that happens, it pushes up, the value of the token itself. Yeah.
Okay, but you did say your team has control over 10% of the total supply. So in theory, since
10%.
there's 17 million in MMF right now, you could sell all that if you wanted to and make a quick $1.7 million and disappear.
Okay, if we were to sell currently whatever holdings we have, I would not think that we will make away with that amount of money. It will probably push the price of the token now 30 cents. Now it's like 30 cents if we were to sell all the tokens, because all AMMs have this formula. They are governed by this formula called the constant product formula. So if we were to sell right now, I think the token price would tank from 30 cents close to around 5 to 6 cents, or maybe even
No,
8.
it would drop from 30 cents with only a 10% dip, respectfully. The math behind that, it would drop to about 21 cents if you got rid of 10% of the supply immediately.
No,
And
based on the
that so that
liquidity we
would
currently
actually
have. It has to be based on the liquidity we currently have, which is around, like I
17
mentioned, around
million.
20, yeah, close to 20 million USD in liquidity for our main trading pair.
And you
Yeah.
own 10% of that. And
Um.
obviously, it would decrease as you sold that position. So it'd end up only being about 1.35
As,
million.
as
But
I mentioned,
technically, if you
we
wanted to,
don't.
you could liquidate that position and you could make millions of dollars.
No, as I mentioned before, we do not currently hold 10% of the supply. That's not true. That's not a true statement to make, because, as I mentioned, we are actually unlocking the supply of the tokens linearly over time, which means it's unlocked over 20 months' time. So we don't own all of the 10% right now. We own closer to maybe 1 or 2% right now, which is, getting diluted every day, because ourselves, we are not staking it. We are not taking part in the, earning from our own tokens. All right. So we actually have very, very low supply of the tokens as compared to some of the whales out there in our ecosystem already, or maybe even, in fact, the general populace has more than us right now, because we have not been minting any tokens for ourselves, and we will continue to only unlock over time, because that's the right thing to do, because we vest our success with, the growth of the protocol, not simply to make a quick buck. Yeah. So
No,
I
I
hope
get
that
that, but
explains.
technically, you're saying that although it is locked, your team does hold 10% of the total supply.
No, we don't.
Which
We do not currently hold it. We currently
it's
do
locked
not
away
hold
for
it.
your team to be rewarded, it right? Like it might be locked away in a smart contract, but like your team is the only person that can get 10% of that total supply, right?
I do not understand the point that you are trying to make right here, because, as I understand it, what the statement that you're making with initially was that we could make away with like 1.7 million USD, if we dumped all our 10% supply. But like I mentioned, we don't have access to that immediately. It's actually unlocked over time. So if actually every month we sell all that is vested to us, there's no way we are making away with that amount of money immediately, if you get what I mean. So we can't
No, I get it, not
damage the
immediately,
project
right?
currently.
But if you were to be patient and wait 6 months for, like right now you have 152 million, and you say that you have about 20 million. So I
No.
mean
Sorry.
that's not technically 20%. That's more like 15.75% or so. But you have 15.75% of the total liquidity provided to your DEX actually going directly to MMF token. So if we were to keep that same ratio, right, and we were to continue expanding, as you grow, since you're saying there is a dilution period as more tokens enter, technically, don't you have to continue bringing in exponentially more amount of money in order to maintain the price
Uh,
of MMF token to the tune of $3 trillion and $20 million
okay.
if you release the total amount of coins?
I think I have to be frank here. I think we are talking about a little bit different matters at hand. You're talking about $150 million. Those $150 million do not belong to us in any way, form whatsoever. A fraction of
No,
that
no,
is
no.
actually
So
being,
what we can
yeah,
do
yeah,
is
I know.
actually draw an adoption ratio. So the adoption
So
ratio of MMF is about 15.75% based on the total amount of liquidity provided to your DEX. So if your DEX is provided 150 million, we can expect 20 million of the MMF to be bought. So if there's 300 million in the DEX provided in liquidity, we can expect the double amount of that. So we can expect 40 million of MMF to be adopted. So technically, the longer you wait, as long as that vesting period happens and you unlock that complete 10%, eventually, if you get your DEX large enough, you could dump 10% for much more than 1.7 million.
no,
Much,
sorry.
much more.
As I mentioned, respectfully, I have to disagree on this line of math because, end of the day, the $150 million has nothing to do with the NMF token itself. Like I mentioned, like a small portion, or rather in this case, about, 20 million USD is currently provided as liquidity for our own main token in itself. So it has the 150 million USD. It has in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with how much we can eventually sell our tokens for. All right. The only thing that affects how much we can sell the token for at the end of the day are two main things. The first main thing is the token price in itself. The second thing is how much liquidity users have been providing for the main trading MMF pair. All right. So, end of the day, how much we can extract, in terms of value is dependent on how much we sell based on that. Yeah. So it really pretty much, in my my way of thoughts is that it doesn't matter, end of the day, how much TVL the entire protocol actually locks in. It could lock in $1 billion, it could lock in $10 billion. End of the day, if the token price is still trading currently now at 30 cents, all right, whatever we sell for, that's about it. All right.
Excuse me, if you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna interrupt for just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I just want Matt Meerkats. I just want to thank you, the dev team, and Sec, for coming on the spot again right away, and answering. These are very hard questions, and I hope you're not coming off as very directed
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way. But I will say, Al, thank you for the questions, and I hope everybody's learning from the questions that are being asked, and I hope everyone's learning
Mm-hmm.
from the answers that are being from how the questions are being answered. So I just want to put that out there. Just to give both a little break again. Thank you guys, but both for the information that's being given out. Because for everybody here, I hope you have a pen and notepad because we're going about 30 minutes. But again, Matt Meerkats, if you like anything else to say, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in that. I would love to hear more from what you guys are saying.
All right. Thanks for having us. Actually, I really like the discussion that we are having here. And I think it's actually, it's perfect. We can hash such things out online, yeah, and at the end of the day, I just hope everyone here understands that, we are not adversarial to our own protocol in itself. We are not out there to harm everyone that's in our protocol. The way the questions are being put out, it does seem, in a way to show that, our team is out to get the investors of our protocol. But, as in DeFi, they always say, you have to trust, and you have to, I mean, you cannot trust, but you have to verify the facts. All right. All the code is actually written out there. The formula, the mathematics behind all of these models are already out there in the open. If you guys actually, doubt what we say, you could simply put all the pieces together. You can actually verify what we are saying right here. It's not adversarial to people who partake in our protocol, so to speak. It has been.
Oh,
He
I
did it
apologize for that.
again.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
he
so
did it
sorry about that, Matt
again.
Meerkat. I apologize. My finger slipped on that. I apologize for that.
Alpha, you are muted. You can restart, I think, 10 seconds earlier and can go again.
Yeah, I
10
apologize.
seconds. All right, no worries. I just want to say, end of the day, I just hope everyone understands, we have done our due diligence, we have done our own math. We understand at the end of the day, what we are trying to bring to the table over here, and we are not actually, trying to harm the people that believe in our protocol. Okay, all the math is out there. Everyone can simply go out and verify, because in DeFi, as they always say, you have to verify, not trust the words that someone speaks. In this case, you don't have to trust what I speak. All right, you guys can simply go and verify for yourself, do the math, everything. It's all there on the table. We are not out to get anyone, right? I hope this helps everyone understand a little bit where we are coming from. All right.
100%. And again, this isn't an accusation or anything. These are just financial questions based on fundamental and technical analysis. And I have over a decade of experience doing this to the tune of billions of dollars of investments. So I know what I'm talking about. And technically, you do have the ability after a certain period of time to sell 10% of the total supply of the coin. You also do not have elastic rebounds in place, which I highly recommend. And if you don't know what those are, you definitely need to look into them. Elastic rebounds based on arbitrage need to be part of your DEX or it will fail. You're saying you don't know the percentages of the whale's holdings. You need to track that every day because you need to make sure someone's not trying to manipulate your DEX price. Again, it's not an accusation, but if you waited a certain period of time and your DEX grew and the MMF coin grew in value, if you own 10% as the team, which again is highly irregular, you do have the technical ability. Now, I'm not accusing you that you're going to do this, but physically, your team could go and sell after a certain period of time 10% of the total supply of MMF, and only 5% is available in circulation right now. Meaning, technically, you own double, even if you have to wait for a vesting period.
Right.
Then what is
I understand where you're
circulating?
coming from now. All right. So, if you don't mind, I can speak on this point. So you mentioned that we will eventually own double the supply of everyone that collectively owns MMF tokens. Okay, that's actually not a true statement. The amount
No. Just right now, you like your vesting period will equate to 10%, which is double the current circulating supply.
No, that will not be the case, because the circulating supply is actually growing every day. It's
But it's
actually
at
growing right now.
5% right now, and your team could vest over time a total of 10%. So
Over time,
right now,
our
the
team will
circulating
own.
supply is half of what you potentially could own. Now, the circulating supply could grow as adoption rates increase, right? But I mean,
No. It's not by adoption rate. It is actually minted every single second right now, regardless of the adoption rate right now. That's actually how it's currently working. All right. So when you say that we eventually will own, twice the circulating supply, that's actually, not true, because end of the day, the circulating supply is actually increasing at, the faster rate than we are vesting the amounts that we have. Like I mentioned, it's 20 months for us to unlock that amount of tokens. So if you do the math behind that 20 months versus the current inflation rate for the entire protocol, right? Because we are rewarding users for simply putting their cash with us. And it's like a constant rate. It is regardless of how much is invested. Because this rewards early investors, right? These people that are currently here today, 150 million USD worth, all right? They are actually gaining tokens at a faster rate than if, let's say, in the future, we have 10 times the amount of investments in the protocol itself. So this means that it rewards the early holders for being in, because the rate of supply increase is constant throughout. All right. So I hope this makes some sense, because I mean I appreciate your financial knowledge. I think you do know a lot from how I hear you speak. It's overwhelming for me to try and answer some of these questions, and the experience is perfect for this conversation, right? So from our point of view, I think there were some misconceptions as to how fast the tokens are actually coming out, right?
yeah, and I mean, even if the token is leaked out over time, and I've run into different types of these organizations, the way that you organize these tokens, even if you're leaking them out, technically, is it not true that you could wait until all of the tokens are in circulation and then you could dump 10% of the total supply? Is that true or is that not true? Arbitrarily speaking, hypothetically speaking, after everything is in circulation, will your team have the ability, technically, not like morally, will you do it? Technically, do you have the ability to dump 10% of the supply after everything is in circulation?
All right. So if you were to ask the question in such a manner, then I would say yes, that's actually possible. But if you take a look at some other tokenomics of other DEXs out there, they have been minting at rates of close to 9% or even 10%. Even PancakeSwap itself, if I'm not wrong, they're minting 10%. They're unlocking their token supply itself 10%. You know, so that's
No,
actually
I
happening.
understand. No,
Yeah,
I
it's,
completely
it's a
understand.
common
But
practice.
that's another reason that I don't
Yep.
support those dexes, right?
Yep. I understand.
And I want to talk to you man to man. Like the 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 allure and the temptation for someone in your team to do something messed up as the circulating supply and the total amount invested in your dex increases. Because that 10% right now is 1.7 million. But that 10% in a year is not going to be. It's going to be closer to 17 million.
Now that's
So if
assuming we bring the token price up from 30 cents to $3 right now. All right.
no, that's just assuming a
No,
constant
that's
adoption
correct.
rate based on the adoption
No,
rate
no,
that you have
it's
now.
not about the adoption rate itself. It's about whether the prices actually go up. You know, the adoption rate has nothing to do with, like I mentioned, um, it has nothing to do with this. You know, how much we get to sell our tokens for. End of the day, it's just simply what is the token price at the end of the day, how much tokens we are currently holding, and when we actually sell that, that's the amount that we are getting. Right?
Yeah, it's just, I will be honest with you. And it's not a personal thing, but that does, I mean, I ask you about elastic rebounds, which almost every Solidity dev knows in and out with arbitrage. And like at least it worth their salt. And any dexes that have come out recently all include elastic rebounds to make sure that prices can't be manipulated. There are also increased gas fees the more you sell a large supply. So let's say you're trying to sell 1%. The gas fees drastically increase if you try to sell 2% of the total supply and 3% of the total supply. Those are elastic rebounds. It puts a penalty in place for someone trying to dump a large supply. And the fact that there are not checks and balances in place and your team is able to dump 10% of the total supply. What we call that in the stock market is a pump and dump.
All right. Okay. So I can weigh in here right now. I think I finally understand what you mean by the elastic rebounds. All right. This is not a term that we constantly throw around. You know, within the Solidity ecosystem itself. You know, I think what you mean to say, is how are the token prices governed in this sense, right? This elastic rebounds that you speak of, right? It's actually the constant product formula behind all dexes and how it works. There's a diminishing amount of returns that someone can get from dumping the token supply. And I think that's roughly what you mean by the elastic rebounds. I did a quick search on Google. I paired the word Solidity with the word elastic rebounds. It doesn't really appear, so to speak. Yeah. But I think this is
Yeah,
roughly what you mean. Right.
well,
Diminishing
it's a
returns
new
from that.
concept that did came out with these newer dexes, right? I mean, our boy Revolution actually is one of the ones that is, or Revolutionary. He's one of the ones that actually is implementing these in some of the larger dexes that are coming out, and talking to people about this.
All right.
But
All right.
just as the technical aspects of this dex go, uh, you are relying on a constant supply of money from the populace to maintain the token supply and for the project to be successful. And it's
Uh,
a drastic amount of money.
Once again, I reiterate the token supply is not governed by the amount of money coming in. The token supply is always going to increase end of the day because of the underlying tokenomics model. Right.
And
So
that's a massive amount of dilution, right? Unless the adoption rate increases, the dilution will increase far more than the token could increase in price.
yep, correct. So that's a problem all DEXs face. How do you bring up the token value in itself? Right? So this is the question everyone, this is the golden question all DEXs are trying to solve right now. All right, how to build value for the token so that the token prices actually increase in tandem with the dilution rate. All right.
Yeah, no, I understand, but like you can promise somebody if they buy your NFT 15% guaranteed if they have 5 of them. But if you're giving them a 15% increase in the supply of a token that you control the max supply of, you're basically giving them like fun tokens. You're like, oh, here's a piece of paper that we say is worth this. It like if you can do that, it's literally the same thing as the US government. You're
Okay,
diluting the supply.
like I mentioned, it's been coded in the contract that there's actually a max supply. We can't create more tokens than the max supply coded into the smart contract itself. So when we say, the max amount of tokens, end of the day is going to be 1 billion tokens, it will be 1 billion tokens. And it can't go more than that. All right.
So why did you not sell the total amount at a very small price, a very low price, and allow the token to grow naturally? Why would you hold a percentage for your team and then to be released later, knowing that it was going to dilute the initial investments of anybody that supported you off the bat?
It is the same with all companies out there. Why would you not want to hold your own stock of the company that you believe in end of the day? Right?
Well, I've
We
invested in a
believe
lot
in
of
our
venture
product. That's why
capital
we hold our
products.
tokens.
Like you look at initial seed rounds, right? There's tons of projects that I didn't invest money in because that second seed round was going to dilute my initial investment. And my initial investment was going to be worth
Yes.
substantially less because they were going to give the people that came in later basically a better price.
Yes,
And
I
and
respect your
that
decision. Sorry, I cut you off. Yeah, you can continue.
no, it's all good. Like I'd love to hear a response to that.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. End of the day, I respect that you chose not to, get diluted, so to speak. Invest in something that for which you'll get diluted in. But end of the day, everyone, not everyone, but people who invest in a DEX protocol needs to understand this important fact that it's led by dilution, it's led by inflation, all right. But it's all governed by smart contracts. So the rate at which you get diluted can be calculated. So most people should roughly know how much they get diluted end of the day. All right. So that's number one. Now, the number two thing is the dilution is whether someone wishes to, so to speak, in your own words, whether you accept the risk for being diluted. Everyone, in this way, I'm making it explicitly clear. All AMMs, all DEXs, we are minting our own tokens in such a fashion. All right, so everyone gets diluted at the end of the day. It's a question of whether you choose to partake in the risks of being diluted for a chance at potentially making more. Right, so if I were to go take back into financial terms, right, if let's say I were to give you a stock and I tell you this stock will actually increase in supply in your wallet. Let's say I give you 100 Tesla shares. Okay, the unique functionality is that, all right, I'll give you 10% more Tesla shares every year. All right. So that's actually the amount that you can earn based on the current market rate. Let's say each Tesla share is like maybe $1,000 each. Right. So you can actually calculate how much you're going to earn a year. Now, the only thing you need to take into note is everyone is holding this same Tesla share as you. So everyone is actually increasing 10% as well. All right. So, the question is then, do you believe that Tesla company itself can build value faster than which they are promising you this increase in the amount of shares that they're creating end of the day? Now, this is actually a very, very out of the world example because no company is like, doing that every year, but they can, they issue more shares, etc. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. But my question is like you're saying, like you're admitting that you are relying on the growth of the company to exceed the dilution rate of the token. Now, I've done the
Yes.
math on that with a Monte Carlo simulation,
Yep.
and you will need in order, okay, so right now, just you have a 20 million investment in MMF out of a 152 million volume that's provided total in liquidity. Okay. So that gives you a percentage of adoption rate that is actually expected to decrease because adoption normally happens off the beginning. Like you've already gone through that like FOMO effect. Okay. So if you have 20 million, and I'm literally doing it right now, and you divide it by 152 million. Okay. That is a 13% ratio. So you have a 13% adoption ratio at the moment. Now, if we were to then increase the total amount of volume of liquidity for your DEX, there's an assumed 11% to 13% bump in the adoption rate, or not the adoption rate, but the total amount of MMF that exists. And that's the amount of money of that total amount that will be there. So you will have about 40 million in MMF tokens, USD invested in MMF, by the time that you get around 300 million in liquidity provided to the DEX, based on the current adoption rates. If those adoption rates remain the same, or they stay under 40%, you will need $2 to $3 trillion to last 12 months.
Okay.
And that
So
is math.
right. So once again, I appreciate you, doing this math out there for everyone out there, that wishes to share the same belief as you in, calculating the true value of a token, or in this case, the true value of the protocol in itself, and how much investments it needs, and so on and so forth. I appreciate this. This is actually, a wonderful set of math. I think, it's great because there are many people who share different points of views around the world on when they invest in a protocol. And I think in this instance right here, for our team, or in this case, actually our team, we believe that the value is calculated in a different way. But everyone has different opinions. I respect that. I think you came up with some pretty solid numbers. If everyone wants to adopt your same model of valuing our project, I think that's fair. That's fair, right? It's fair. So there are many
Do
ways to
you
look
have
at
an
it.
alternative equation for me to calculate mathematically the value of your token over time as dilution presents itself?
Mm-hmm.
What is that equation?
Well, I would need to spend some time on the equation itself because there are a lot of variables that come into play. But in general, I think if you ask me from the principal level, right, the token value in itself, what drives a value of the token in itself is the demand in itself, and of course the supply as well, right? Are we able to grow the demand faster than the supply? Is simply the only thing that I can put to the table concretely right now, okay, without doing any numbers. Is our team is trying to build the demand faster than the supply. That's
Can
all.
I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Why was he able to do the equation like right away, but you need time? I'm
Okay.
clueless. I mean nothing. Like I really am just trying to ask this genuinely. I'm just trying to understand that.
Okay, sure. I can do it with you. Okay, I can do it with you guys. Let me throw some numbers out so roughly understand where it's coming from. As I mentioned, your way of looking at things is when the total amount invested in the protocol comes into play, that would be the value of the token in itself, and then it remains like a constant rate. All right, but as I mentioned, it does not happen that way. The token price increases simply when someone places in a buy order and pushes the price up. It's as simple as that, right? End of the day is, are you going to provide enough value for someone to push the price up? All right, and right now, if you look at the numbers, we have 20 million USD in
Alpha,
liquidity for our main chain.
let me pause you for a while. You can take some time to think about the numbers. I just want to address stereotype, like you asked why, just a short one. For one, I think this basis is completely unplanned. I think El Chimpone already had his preparations from before with all his questions, and that's perfectly fine.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just since you had no context of this, I just want to make it clear that for one, we are in the midst of one of our launch pads, and my head dev is here. He has made the time. I hope that everyone here can appreciate this.
Please.
And
For sure,
yeah,
man. And that's why I tried to make
There,
sure like y'all knew I
correct.
was
I know.
genuine.
yeah,
I
sure,
wasn't
if you
trying to
don't
play
mind,
games
yeah.
with nobody.
Let's
That's
give
why I
sequence
wanted to
the
address
space, if you
this
don't mind,
because
please.
I want to set the context and everything clear. Yeah. Alpha, back to you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
So
well, I just want to make sure everybody knows. Like, I was not trying. I was just trying to understand because I am completely clueless. So, I meant total
No,
respect, my friend.
of
So,
course, sir. But again, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to, if you don't mind, the Lake Sequence is saying they have a big thing going on, and this is actually a space that was kind of just started, and one kind of snowball was thrown and kind of went. Again, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure this floor.
no, we're
And
good. We're
again,
good.
Sequence, thank you, and Mad Meerkat for taking it. The head dev here for taking the time, because I do appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody, again, one of the biggest things about CRO fam is that you can get onto a space and ask these hard questions directly from somebody. You really can't do this on other networks or other communities. So again, Sequence and Matt, you Dev, thank you for taking the time, and Al, thank you. Again, this is something that just came up out of nowhere. Do appreciate that a lot of this stuff. And Serendipity, I don't know if you just got into it, but for anyone who just got into this, again, this is something that just came about. This was not planned. There was a couple questions that were about me and Sequence actually just came in contact today, which I appreciate. Thank you for taking the time. But right away, I kind of got this. Again, they have a whole launch going on right now, and still took the time to answer these very hard,
Yeah, and thank y'all for
direct
that.
questions. So again,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
came in late, so I
Yeah.
didn't
So
know.
again, no,
No
of course.
worries. Okay,
If
so
you don't mind,
yep,
to keep going. We're gonna keep it between
okay,
Sequence,
so
Al, and Meerkat.
yep,
Fine.
yep, Alpha. I think you gotta go. You definitely gotta go. So how
Right.
about you just share your final thoughts, and then we just gotta go. Yep.
Okay. I think I can't possibly do the math right now already. Like a sequence mentioned. All right. So, main idea at the end of the day is I really appreciate everyone over here right now. All the questions you have asked. Are tough questions, and some of them are really awesome questions because they really help everyone understand. How all of these different pieces come to play, and everyone has different mentalities when it comes into investing in a project. Some or rather in this case, everyone looks at it differently, from the rate of dilution, to everything. We all do our research and, end of the day, we partake in projects that we understand, we appreciate, we believe in. Yeah. So, in this case, we like I keep mentioning, we are here to build for the future. All right, we are not here to pump and dump, so to speak. All right, and I appreciate is it El Chimpo, for your awesome comments. There are a lot of things to look at. Whether there are statistics such as whether whales are holding a large percentage of the supply, so on and so forth. All right, all these come into play, and if you guys are looking to even participate in our protocol. Those are things you have to mention. I think El Chimpo, you can take a leaf out of his book. He has a lot of experience. You guys can, definitely learn from the way he does his analysis before he invests in a protocol. And I think that's all wonderful, right? So that's pretty much all I have to say for now. I think I would have to wrap up some of the stuff over here because I need to head back to work. Because we are doing a launchpad right now. All right. So
See you.
yeah.
Just go. No time really. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your time, Alpha. I'll DM you because I do have more questions. But thanks. Not a lot of people want to jump in the Shark Tank, so thanks for jumping in the waters, and you
Yeah.
get back to your launch pad.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes. Thank
Thanks
you
a lot
again,
for having
Alpha.
us.
Thank
Okay.
you so much,
All right.
Alpha, for being here, taking the time, man.
Yep. Thanks.
And again, Sequence, I think he just hopped off. I just want to thank him too
Sorry
and the whole
about
team.
Oh man, did I miss Sequence?
Oh,
I just put my
I don't know if
headphones in. I
you,
just got up
yeah,
here. Damn. Shout out Al Chimpone, man. With that,
for
I didn't
sure.
even have my coffee,
Welcome,
man. That was a lot of info. That was a lot of info.
brother. I have not even slept yet. I've still been up, and I'm fucking wired. Excuse my language. I do not want to curse, especially in this type of environment. Alpha, first of all, welcome. I think I shouted you out and very hype moment for Welcome to the Jungle. I don't know if that was your
Oh,
record or not, Alpha,
oh.
earlier, but 125. I was very, very proud to be in that and be part of that history. Number one.
Hell
Number
yeah, baby.
two, for sure, man. And thank you again for everything you do because I love having you. First of all, man, I love your energy, bro. Everything, everybody loves your energy. And every time you're up in here, bro, I couldn't wait for you to wake up, man. It's funny too because I was thinking about like 30 minutes ago. I was like, dude, Alpha's usually up around 7 o'clock, so let's see when the hell
We had a
he gets
late
into my.
night. We had a late night again, dude.
Yeah, trust me, bro. I feel you. But again, one thing I will say. Let me get some guys in here right now, to speak. But again, I hope everybody learned from this. Like, I want to first of all thank Sequence and Alpha, his dev. Hopefully they will hear this, and I will all be in contact with them. And again, to everybody, sometimes I know when I repeat myself about these things, it's not to put something in a negative light, and we're not saying negative.
Is his dev named Alpha? Is that what was going on, bro? Because I
Yeah, I
kept.
was so
Yeah,
confused for a bit
he's
there, but
definitely.
All
Yeah, it
right,
came as
all
I'm
confused
glad we
right,
too.
got
all
that cleared
right.
up.
I was like,
Um,
That
And-
makes more
And
sense
by the way,
now.
well hosted 21 million. I mean, it started off really spicy there at the beginning, and
Hey,
it wouldn't have
Genius,
been
how
easy.
you
So well
doing?
done.
You snuck in on this, man.
Thank you.
What's up,
Thank you
Genius?
very much, Aussie. Genius, yeah, man. Thank you. Welcome. Again, two guys. We've been running the show. Aussie, you can tell me when yours closed. Was when I left, and then I came and opened up this one. But again, first of all, thank you for those kind words, Aussie, man, because it really means a lot coming for you, and thank you for helping me. Behind the scenes, a lot that a lot of people don't know. Aussie is definitely keeping me and giving me a lot of advice through these spaces, man. So thank you for not just what you do during here,
Hey,
but what you do for
Aussie
everyone
don't do
else.
nothing, man. No, I'm just
Huh?
kidding.
Shout out Aussie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for real.
that
Shout out
I
dude.
Aussie, man.
mean,
Because
blood
Nah, it's all
clot.
you,
This
oh
your man,
family.
yeah. This your
but
man, yeah.
It's
if
all
if
you.
I could
I
before
just
I
gotta
have
shout him out real quick, man,
for
because
sure.
Aussie actually did some magic on this peepee right here. If y'all can't see it, man, I woke up to a Afro sloth, motherfuckers.
Oh my God! No way! You got an
Custom,
Yo, bro, I
Holla
just
Afro?
at your
custom
boy,
saw that.
slothing
bing
with an
bong,
Congrats,
afro.
bro.
bitches. That shit is up
It's
top. Let's
epic.
go.
Congrats. I just saw that, bro. Yo, I have what's it called? I think they showed mine yesterday. Those things are fucking awesome, bro. So congrats. Literally just saw yours, man. Let's fucking go. Bing bong the
Are you,
shit out of these. Make sure you guys support
bing
these
bong,
sloths and
yes.
Bing
support these
bong,
Uh,
things.
baby.
are
Alfred,
you
check
Hell
hanging
it out
in
in the
yeah.
there?
comments, bro.
Okay,
Go
21 million.
fucking Byron.
Are you hanging in there? Okay.
Hey,
Do
take
you
me out
want
to
us to
dinner.
start up like coffee and crypto or something if you need a break from hosting?
Yeah, and I just have one more thing to say. I got a bunch of DMs. They're
Yeah,
like, "What do
please.
you have against these guys? Like, why are you trying to make this kid cry?" I'm not. But it is highly irregular for a DEX team to have 10% of the total supply available for sale after a certain amount of coins are released. So definitely look out for that. Because if the DEX grows and MMF tokens are worth like 100 million, technically they could rug people for like 10 mil and then just dip out. Now, I'm
And
not
that's
saying
why I
they're
rock
going
you,
to.
bro. That's why I
I'm
rock
not
you.
saying they're going to, but it's possible. Like
Right.
technically, physically, they could.
But why
And
put myself in a spot like that where they could? I mean, and nothing against them. You know what I'm saying? But if I've got that as a choice and then I've got this as a choice, well, why would I put myself in a jeopardy when I could go here? You know what I mean?
That's
So
why we have these conversations, bro.
right. That's
And shout out Al for bringing the right questions, man. Because even when I'm running the jungle, I get plenty of DMs from y'all on some like, yo, why are you letting these guys talk without grilling them? Why are you hyping them out without grilling them? And like Al keeps it real, man. You gotta give Al some hundreds right now. I'm definitely not seeing enough, yo. Like some two thumb hundreds for
Yeah,
Al
so sorry
Chimpone,
if I sounded like an
motherfuckers.
asshole, but like I like whenever people are talking to me about their projects, like I don't care if they're like, "Oh, like I want like this is your choice and we want to build a community and help everyone make money and everyone has a different choice." I want to hear the math. I want to hear the facts. Like this isn't an art project. This is a DEX, and there are facts and math behind it. And if they don't match up to what I assume to be a safe project, I will tell you. And I don't see that as a safe project because they have control over such a large amount of the token supply. They said it's a dilution clause, so like they're literally going to purposely dilute the amount that you hold. And he doesn't even know what elastic rebounds are. And that is one of the first things you learn as a
I,
Solidity dev.
I think these questions are really great. Alpha, you missed it earlier. I pitched to Al that he should have a recurring space called Due Diligence with Al Chimpone. I think that'd be awesome because you do ask the hard questions and
Oh, fuck that
what a
shit,
way to put
Aussie. We are
a project
throwing
through
that
the ringer.
shrimp on the Barbie. It's grill
But
time. It is grill
but
time with Al Chimpone, baby.
Hey, I
grill
just
time, I
got
like that.
curious.
Grill, get
What
roasted.
what token you guys
But
talking about?
if I could very quickly just